enthusiasm, I don't hope that I can cope with it. Good afternoon from Castle Goring, from Mickey, from Aurora, and from me. I must say, this is great enthusiasm. So I am going to move Aurora to one side and hope that she doesn't create too much havoc while I plunge right in, because we have a lot of ground to cover today. And may I say, in the run-up to the Jubilee weekend, we are going to be performing as normal, but on the Jubilee weekend itself, we are not. Thursday's video is going to be dedicated entirely to the Queen and hopefully positive matters about her. Then Saturday's video is not going to be uploaded until Sunday, because I have Jubilee commitments, and I also do not want, even if I had the time, which I don't, I would not want to jump the gun, and a video done on Saturday simply would be inadequate. So I'm going to do it on Sunday. Then we'll have the regular one on Tuesday as normal. So, Lynn Rogers MA says, can you comment on the Daily Mirror's implication that an insider suggests that the estranged daughter reached out to an ailing parent when another truthful commentator said this is not true? And I'm going to answer this in tandem with Annette Stewart's question, which is hi to Mickey, Aurora, and you, Lady C. Mickey, Aurora, Annette Stewart says hi. Mickey is chewing my fingers. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to cope with this. 2 questions. The recent report that Meghan is reaching out to her father but wants to leave Tom Jr. and Samantha out of it as they've got an agenda, quote unquote. How true is that? I can't imagine Thomas Sr. being party to that, surely. The second question is that there are reports that Harry and William have been in touch a lot lately. Surely that's come from across the pond. I really love your videos, especially the history ones. Thank you very much. You are most entertaining and very knowledgeable. Thank you very much. Love to you all. Well, yes, I'm going to answer those 2 as if it were one question. The Mirror was the start of it all, and I have to tell you that it is my firm conviction that the leak emanated from Karl Larsen. I don't take any pleasure in saying this, but I have a firm rule of thumb. When I have good reason to suspect that somebody has leaked information about me to the press that is a betrayal of my trust, I erase them. Now, let us remember, Thomas Markle has been erased, not because he leaked information about Meghan, but that he was trying to maintain his dignity and improve his image after Meghan declined Buckingham Palace's offer of sending somebody to assist Thomas Markle. She accepted it for her mother but she declined it for her father, notwithstanding the fact that he was more vulnerable both as a personality due to health and due to the fact that he is much less guarded than Doria, but also due to the fact that he was extremely accessible in terms of his habitation. Let's remember that. Now, why I think that Karl Larsen has leaked it is that people had been asking me questions about the fact that Karl Larsen was the photographer of some of those photographs at Polo, which I thought there was no harm in that. Karl Larsen has been in touch with me repeatedly. I'm not going to violate Thomas Markle's privacy by repeating any of the conversations we've had with regard to Karl Larsen. However, I made it absolutely clear to Karl Larsen that I did not wish my participation in Mr. Markle's entertainment in England to be made public. Well, it was made public through the Mirror, which Karl Larsen had been trying to get Thomas Markle to go along with, because he had set up a visit in England backed by the Mirror, and Thomas Markle did not want it. He thought it was undignified, and he thought it was going to be a bunfest, and he thought it was going to be everything he didn't want, and he didn't want it. Fortunately for him, he has excellent relations with GB News, who were in accord with him and with me that everything had to be done with dignity. And so they are the ones who were going to take care of him for the first part of his visit. Now, how is it that the Mirror phones me up to ask me if it is true that Thomas Markle is going to be staying with me? The Mirror. I am suing the Mirror. It's no secret that I'm suing the Mirror. I gave very short shrift to the journalist, but I thought, oh dear, where did that come from? Very few people knew that I was going to be hosting Thomas Markle. Karl Larsen was one of them, and Karl Larsen was the person who was in touch with the Mirror and remained in touch with the Mirror by his own account to me. That was the first red flag. I have to say, taking photographs of Meghan was not a red flag to me. He's a paparazzo. Paparazzi will take photographs of opposing camps. That's perfectly valid. What is not perfectly valid is to be claiming to be Jewish while you're wearing a swastika and promoting the interests of the Nazi Party. Let's put it that way. Because Meghan and Harry are surrounded by the most efficient and vicious propagandist team since Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels. And sadly, I think Karl Larsen couldn't resist the temptation. Then, of course, we all know what's happened since. The fact of the matter is that I am of the firm belief that Karl Larsen is the source of all of this, which means that, in my opinion, he has let Thomas Markle down very badly by promoting the interests of Meghan. Now, this is really pretty serious, because the fact of the matter is that he has leaked information about the visit and then acted as the propagandist for Meghan with claims from the Mirror. Again, it's the Mirror, always the Mirror, where he's in bed with them, and a scummier lot, I have to say. It has never been my displeasure to see, but I'm not going to go into why I think they're the lowest of the low. I've already been into it, but they are the lowest of the low in my opinion. And I read out some of what he says. A source told the Mirror, despite their estrangement, Meghan is concerned. She wants to know if there is any way to contact her father privately without other family knowing about it or having to get involved. The insider added, and this can only, I have to tell you, be Karl Larsen. The insider added, Meghan can't contact her half-siblings because she believes they have their own agendas like she doesn't. If she can contact their dad, she wants it to be totally private. It won't involve Netflix. It won't involve any photographs, and it must not involve any tip-offs to the paparazzi. This is from a paparazzo who is tipping off the Mirror that Meghan wants to reconcile with her father, which is a total lie, as I know to be a fact, and as his daughter Samantha has yesterday confirmed. It is a total lie. Meghan has made no approach to her father. The Mirror has very cleverly claimed that a source told them, and that an insider told them, and that an insider added. Yes, it is an insider. It's Karl Larsen, who is doing a YouTube called Remarkable Friendship with Thomas Markle Sr. I'm sorry. I think it's absolutely outrageous and a betrayal of the highest order, not only for Karl Larsen to be providing what is effectively private and privileged information to the enemy camp, because let's be clear about this. This is inimical, but also that he would actually allow them to lie, because it's a lie. He knows it's a lie. They know it's a lie. We all know it's a lie. Meghan has made no attempt to contact her father. What she has attempted to do with Karl Larsen's collusion is clean up her reputation, especially in the light of the criticism she has received about that visit to Uvalde, so that she arrives in England with everybody thinking she's wonderful and what a marvelous person she is. She's gone and she's laid flowers because she's so loving and compassionate. She's laid flowers, having pushed the genuine mourners out of the way. She's laid flowers at a memorial. made sure it got into People magazine and all the other outlets to virtue signal and ratify how wonderful she is. Harry backed her up, in my opinion, quite rightly and very cleverly, with a minute's silence at Polo, and that was appropriate. Then she gets Karl Larsen to announce, leak, really, not announce, leak. Come on, baby girl, come up. She wants to come up. To leak that she has been in touch with her father. Not only has she not been in touch with her father, it is a tissue of lies, and I'm going to break it down to why it's a tissue of lies. She wants to know if there is any way to contact her father privately. So she is sharing this observation with the world. She wants to know if there's any way to contact him privately. So she's doing it public. So she's publicly doing it through the mirror, without other family knowing about it or having to get involved. So maybe her best friend Karl Larsen and that ghastly woman who heads the newspaper called Alison Phillips will find a way of getting her to privately get in touch with her father and share it with their hundreds of thousands of readers. I mean, honestly. Then he said she can't contact her half-siblings because she believes they have their own agendas. She can't contact her half-siblings because one of them is suing her for defamation. Both of them have her number. And she is the one who alienated them by effectively humiliating them in the eyes of the whole world, by giving the message to the world that they weren't good enough to come to her wedding. Then they say if she can contact her dad, she wants it to be totally private, hence why she's sharing it with the mirror via Karl Larsen, and everybody knows that it's going to be picked up by all the other newspapers. It won't involve Netflix. Well, maybe not, but there'll doubtless be another camera crew there if not, if they can get away with it, or maybe just a body mic. But certainly there's the memory, and that can be imparted. It won't involve any photographs, really. Well, and it mustn't involve any tip-offs to the paparazzi. So she is claiming, having tipped off the paparazzi, so that the very thing she is doing is the thing she's trying to prevent her father from doing. Seldom have I seen such arrant hypocrisy. Then we have Helena Watts, who I have to tell you I know and like. She's a perfectly nice journalist. She is the Sunday Mirror's showbiz editor. She says, Princes William and Harry are healing their feud with weekly online messages and face-to-face chats ahead of their Queen's Jubilee meeting. The previously warring pair, and notice this is from the Mirror as well, the previously warring pair are now said to be back to some form of normality. Helena, darling, look up the word normality. After William made the first move to heal the family rift before next week's celebrations. William made the move. It's clever. Harry and Meghan really is very clever. What she's doing is setting up the situation so that William, who she fears, will ice her, that William will be superficially pleasant to her if not totally neutral, but hopefully not at all with any subliminal message of disapproval during their visit that is publicly discernible. That's what she's afraid of. I have been reliably informed. She doesn't want William or Catherine to humiliate her with just a look. So she is setting up the situation so that, and again, this is done through the mirror, and again, this is coming straight from the Meghan camp. Take it from me, it's nothing to do with William. But of course, they always have to be the recipients whenever they're manipulating. They are the ones who are the recipients. But when they are the predators, they pretend to be the recipients. And when they are the recipients, they pretend to be the predators. Well, not the predators, the victims. I mean, you know, I have to tell you, and I haven't experienced such intellectual turmoil to try to figure out what the reality of a situation is, since I had to deal with my dreadful mother. But I know the game. These people are as transparent as glass to me. And the idea that William is the one who not only made the first move, but has leaked it to the Mirror, which is also the recipient of other information from Meghan's camp, is laughable. Anyway, we have details. The brothers have been messaging each other every few days on WhatsApp and are also having regular FaceTime calls with their respective children. Oh, happy families. But wives Meghan and Kate, both 40, have so far held back from on-screen contact, giving their husbands time to fix their relationship one-to-one. A source said William, 39, had been disappointed about the abrupt way the Duke and Sussex left the royal family and moved to California, but that he has now moved on. Of course he has. He was only upset about the abrupt way that they left. He wasn't upset about the fact that they've lied through their back teeth and also trashed his wife and trashed the royal family and trashed the British people. These have all been conveniently erased by the Meghan camp, because this is Meghan propaganda. Take absolutely have no doubt about it. And Harry, 37, who is expected to fly to the UK tomorrow night with his wife and children, is now looking forward to seeing the rest of his family and celebrating his grandmother's platinum jubilee. They need the photo op. They need it. They need it to top up their pretty much drained chalice of royalty. A source said the brothers needed time for everything to settle down. The family, including William, had been disappointed in the way Harry and Meghan chose to leave the royal family. Nothing about Oprah, nothing about the lies. But now there is a strong feeling that what happened is in the past and that they have moved on. Yes, of course. Everything that they did is completely being ignored. No lessons are being learned. Prince William wanted to embrace Harry, and they have been messaging each other every few days. They also have FaceTime calls with their children, blah, blah, blah. It repeats itself. Then it says, and this is an error which shows that it came directly from Meghan's and Harry's camp. Meghan's distance from Kate has also helped heal the friction between the two men. Meghan previously claimed that Kate made her cry during a bridesmaid fitting for her 2018 wedding and has not spoken to her since quitting royal duties 2 years ago. But tomorrow night she will be flying here with Harry and children, Archie 3 and 11-month-old Lilibet, and is says to be looking forward to the celebrations. What they're looking forward to is duping the public into thinking that everything is all right in the Garden of Eden, when in fact it is the Garden of Gethsemane, and that everything is perfectly okay, and they are setting the agenda so that they hope William and Catherine and all the other royals who disapprove of their conduct will be forced to be pleasant to them. That's what that is all about. And if you think it's anything else, don't kid yourself. Christy D says they best take them off the official royal website as official representatives of Her Majesty in the USA, UK and Commonwealth. They've only served as an embarrassment for Great Britain. I couldn't agree more. I have to tell you, it is my considered view, having had some interaction with the press office at the palace, that they live down to their customarily dreadful reputation. I have scant respect or regard for the merits or the judgment of the press office. This, however, is not only a public relations issue. It's got other dimensions, which include members of the family, order of succession, etc., etc., etc. However, the reason why Harry and Meghan have not been taken off the official website, the royal website, is that the powers that be, namely the Queen primarily, but to an extent Prince Charles, and I'm sure at 3 o'clock in the morning, Prince William, when he is in his less rational frame of mind, are all hoping that this bumpy ride can be brought to an end, and that after Harry and Meghan have failed, as they are plainly doing, that they will be reincorporated into the fold. They also, I would imagine, are taking the view, and this is a view that royals do take, and indeed all establishments take, that some criticism is inevitable, and hopefully they can ride out the storm with minimal damage to the ship and to the contents of the ship. That is the reason why Harry and Meghan are still on the royal website. It's as simple as that. If they are removed from the royal website, it will be much more difficult if the powers that be believe, I think rather ill-advisedly, that it will be that much more difficult for them to be reincorporated into the fold. I'm not a royal advisor. I could never be a royal advisor because I have scant patience with stupidity sucking up all different sorts of licking and all of the things that often go along with being advisors to the royals. They used to have woefully out of touch advisors in the form of the traditionalists, who were all aristocrats of one sort or the other, whether titled or untitled was beside the point. They at least had the merit of having a code of conduct and ethics. They understood what ladies and gentlemen should be and how they should behave. For the last 30 years, half the private secretaries at Buckingham Palace don't even know how to address somebody with a title properly. That should tell you something about how woefully out of touch they are with not only the system, but the messages it is supposed to be giving. Treasure has come to join us. Come on, Treasure. He's backing off now. Oh dear. Okay, so Denise Griffith says, Lady C, can you please tell me why the Royal Family Channel is covering Meghan's display at Uvalde as if it were an official humanitarian visit by a head of state? The implication is that this crass interference is sanctioned by the royal family, whose representative Meghan is, even when she claims to be functioning in a personal capacity. One would have thought the royal family's official channel would want to distance the royal family from such displays, not promote them as if they were commendable when they are anything but. I'd love to know your thoughts. Denise Griffith, my thoughts are that the display was disgusting. I say this as somebody who has had a grandfather murdered, a brother-in-law, various cousins and friends. I thought it was intrusiveness bordering on ravishment and gross insensitivity. I got many complaints from people about the Royal Family Channel on YouTube posting as if Meghan were a heroine. And people were outraged that it was on the Royal Family Channel because they believed that the Royal Family Channel is an official YouTube channel of the royal family. I rang up on Saturday afternoon and got the Queen's Press Secretary, Donald McCabe, who was happy to inform me, in fact, eager to inform me, that he was doing his duty from a field. Isn't that noble of him? So noble. That, in fact, I needed to check to see. I didn't need him. I just needed somebody from the press office, but I was put through to him. And it emerges that the Royal Family Channel on YouTube has nothing to do with the royal family officially. It's not an official channel. It is owned, according to Mr. McCabe, he thinks it's owned by ITN. Well, this, I have to tell you, begs the question, why do they not insist, since we all know that the word royal cannot, in this country, be used willy-nilly, why have they not taken steps to ensure that there is clarity and that the public understands that it is not an affiliate officially of the royal family, nor is it an extension of Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, Clarence House, etc., etc. Well, there are reasons why. There is an unspoken symbiotic relationship between the royal family and the media. Each feels it needs the other to exist successfully. However, I think that it is a bit remiss to not make the distinction, because unless the royal family insists that ITN or whoever owns the royal family channel makes it clear that it is not an official extension of Buckingham Palace, people are going to continue to think it is. And they're going to continue to think that the ITN content, which is often deeply dubious, run as it is by that pseudo-Leninist Dame Caroline McCall, with her anti-monarchist stances. You know, the royal family needs to wake up and understand that it needs to have advisors that have nous, that are perspicacious, that are perceptive, that are prescient, that understand the ways of the world and not rattle around with third-rate people. But maybe they can't do better. Maybe better doesn't exist and won't to work for the royal family. That is a possibility. Melanie Hoyt says, a comment from April Skies asks, where was she paying her respects when 11 blacks were murdered at the Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York a couple weeks ago? I'm sure those folks had a memorial for her to visit. Yes, Melanie Hoyt, you're absolutely right. But my understanding is that Meghan has been warned off. The colour card hasn't worked with the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and one or two other ambitious black women don't like the fact that a woman who passed for white for most of her life would seek to supplant them. I mean, the truth is, if she passed for black for most of her life, they still wouldn't have wanted her to supersede them. But there's a reason why. Meghan's been given the message loud and clear that it's inappropriate for her to play the black card. Also, I gather, Michelle Obama doesn't approve of Meghan. And Michelle Obama also feels that not only is black beautiful, it's hers, with some merit. So, isn't it interesting to see how all these people who are so democratic and so public-spirited and so caring about humanity guard their turf with a degree of passion that not even old world aristocrats used to in the days when the monarch was really powerful. HMS Taco says, I am so sad to say this, but Twitter is stuffed to the brim with sugars, tweeting how wonderful Meghan was to go to Texas. And each tweet is getting thousands of love heart symbols. America is truly a crazy nation. Well, I take it, HMS Taco, that you've got to be British, Her Majesty's ship. So, it is a well-known fact that Meghan and Harry's people avail themselves of bots. They buy in their apparent supporters by the shed load. Having said that, it astonished me when a great friend of mine, who is extremely intelligent and sophisticated, told me that he was moved by Meghan's visit, really her intrusion, but let's call it visit to be polite, at Uvalde. And I asked him how he could possibly be. And he told me what he thought. And he had taken everything at face value. And what is happening here is that Meghan and Harry have a very efficient PR team who plant information and stories all over a very controllable media. And people buy the lie. And since Laura Zimmerman's comment addresses this issue as well, I will move on to that. Laura Zimmerman says, Lady C, would you please address the problem that the media swallows the wife's mendacious PR, spits it out, and a lot of people will believe it. The truth is not out there. I know the media is driven by profit, but wouldn't the wife's real antics be even better story than the Sunshine Sacks fluff that is? Your opinion is greatly appreciated. Love to Mickey, Aurora, and you. From California, not Montecito. Well, as Christine Biddle once said, Montecito is well known to be for the newlywed or the nearly dead. And Christine is arguably the United States of America's greatest WASP PR. And I'm sure many of you Americans will recognize the name Biddle. So I need say no more. The difficulty is, and you're absolutely right, it's a very efficient propagandist operation. It is as efficient as the Nazi regime's propaganda operation in the 1930s. And we all know that that didn't end well. Propaganda never ends well, no matter how long it takes for the denouement, because propaganda is not the truth and it is not good. It is destructiveness posing as positivity. It is lies posing as the truth. It is false news posing as real news. It is misinformation posing as information. The fact of the matter is the American system is set up in such a way that publications like People magazine, Vanity Fair, etc., have a corner on the market. They dictate what is going to be dished up to the public. They often write exactly what is to be said, and it becomes a cut and paste job. I went into this in great detail in my book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story, to explain the difference between the British and the American print medium. It also applies to the internet medium and to the other media that are no longer print. There is nothing to be done except exercise judgment and skepticism. It's as simple as that. And there are none so blind as they who will not see. Many people don't want the truth. They simply want pap. I'm sorry, that's where it's at. Lily Gazoo says, reminds me of Amber notifying TMZ so she could be photographed after leaving court to get a TRO. Doesn't it just? Doesn't it just? Except this is damage limitation. That was damage creation. Oh, but it's all equally artificial. You know, I don't know why the Archewell Foundation is called Archewell. I don't know why it's not called artificial. Anyway, Lindsay Bradley says, when you listen to the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, you see how copyright works, and this is very important. Lindsay Bradley has hit upon a very important feature that needs to be factored into the discussion we're having. Meghan had to give her permission to have anything that is published in People magazine, or in fact any of the other magazines. Actually, to have anything published where she has hired paparazzi, photographers, etc. to take her photo or write about her, she has to agree to it. This was made clear during the trial that Amber Heard had to agree to have photos and text approved by her before it could be published. She had the copyright because she either took the photos or had the photos taken of her. Precisely. Netflix is claiming that it did not take the photographs, but there are endless photographs available of the photographers piling in to the vehicle with Meghan and standing around with her and being instructed by her and shooting, then reshooting scenes. The images are out there on the internet for those who wish to look at them. So there is no doubt that Meghan Markle travelled with or organised to meet up with a camera crew of her choosing. Nandini Eves says, good morning, Lady C. Just a thought. Harry berated the public in that infamous interview for grieving the loss of his mother. Do he and his wife not communicate? Or was she not at the interview? How then could she grieve for people that she had no relationship with? I'll give you a clue. Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Why are they so invested in being photographed with other people's children? I'm a wonderful person. I'm very good-hearted. I love children, one act of compassion at a time. I love animals as well, one act of compassion at a time. I love all humanity, one act of compassion at a time. My goodness, Mickey, catch that flying pig! Oh God, it has Thomas Markle's name written across its belly. I will repeat. Why are they so invested in being photographed with other people's children? Firstly, the nursery, where the parents weren't allowed to come in. Secondly, the New York City school, reading of vomit-inducing nonsense and photos without permission. Thirdly, now people grieving their children's demise. No one is allowed to photograph her children, or they will be sued. Now they are here in Britain. What catastrophe is she hoping for that can be turned into a photo opportunity for her to tread on with millions of pounds worth of garb or jewellery? Much love to you and your furry family. Well, I will actually show you my other fur baby who's here as well. Mr. Treasure. Mr. Treasure has come to join us, and he's come to join because he and Aurora are pretty much the same size, and oopsie daisy, and they play together. So he nearly knocked over something, the microphone, but fortunately I hope he hasn't touched it. To answer the question, entitled people who have no empathy and who feel that everybody is there to be used by them because people are not individuals to be empathized with, but entities to be exploited as supply, will simply do what they think is going to advance their agenda. It's all about the agenda. And Harry and Meghan's agenda is that they are wonderful human beings. They are great humanitarians. They are great know-it-alls. They're trying to protect the environment, one private jet trip at a time. They are trying to show us the light, one lie and betrayal at a time. They are trying to show us what elevated human beings they are. One journey in the gutter at a time. Why wouldn't they use other people's children and expect that theirs should be sacrosanct? Harry and Meghan are the ultimate elitists. They left the world that for all its supposition as being elitist is actually far more accessible now to ordinary people, as Meghan's existence and incorporation into the royal family shows without a doubt. Because believe me, 20 years ago, somebody of her background, and I'm now referring to a multiplicity of issues, would never have been allowed into the palace, even as an employee, because employees had to check out. She just wouldn't have. So there is accessibility in Britain that there isn't in the United States. I know what I'm talking about. I lived in America. My sisters live in America. Many of my friends are American. And some of them are at the absolute pinnacle of American society and influence, and incidentally from both parties. Not just the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, both parties. America is a lot less accessible than Britain. They have moved to America because it's easier to make money and they can indulge their elitist tendencies in a way that would be intolerable to the British people, and they would not be allowed to do and weren't allowed to do. So I hope that answers the question. Boo says, what some filters remember is that Harry was irate because of the outpouring of emotion from around the world when his mother died. They didn't know her, he said. Well, how does he feel about his wife's latest publicity stunt involving a total of 21 murder victims, and one of the teacher's husbands died of a massive heart attack the next day, leaving 4 children orphaned, and also just happened to have a Latino security guard? Well, Michelle and Kamala and Alexandria don't mind if she goes for the Latino crowd. They don't want her going for the crowd of color, the Afro-American crowd. They don't want that, but they don't mind the Latino. She can take the Latinos. It doesn't have much punch. It's not so powerful. So they're not being generous. They're actually being quite, what's a good word to use that's not going to cause too much offense? Selective. What a vile, self-centered person he married. Is he furious with her? Allegedly, he had a glimpse of his ex-royal life and knew it wasn't the time. She obviously doesn't own a watch. Very droll. Lady C, I had to edit. I gave you a standing ovation, then lots of symbols, so claps. Absolutely loved how you put her actions in context. Thank you very much. Well, my understanding is that Harry did not want her to go, but she went because she understood that she had to go because of the disaster that was looming with her father coming over here, being received by all sorts of people whose doors are shut to Harry and Meghan. And she knew that they were walking into a public relations disaster. And she brazened it out. And I have to tell you, I think she was right to do it. I don't think she was right morally. I don't think she was right ethically. I think in terms of PR, she was right. Because although people who have discernment will, if they look into it, see that this was an act of the grossest intrusion and the most shocking insensibility, people who just read something and swallow it whole will have bought the lie. Or if they haven't bought it in terms of admiration, are indifferent. But the narrative is out there. You know, often in life, in the public eye, it is the narrative that counts. It is who gets in the first punch. It is who lays down their marker. It is who is calling the shots. Meghan calls the shots. She influences and tries to at all times shape the narrative. She is sufficiently successful for them to want to continue to do it. She is not as successful as she wanted to be. They are not making the money they wanted to be, and there is every prospect of them having at some stage to tuck their rotten little tails between their legs and come back to Britain. Irrespective of whether their detractors don't want them back or not, they, I promise you, will be allowed to return, hopefully in a Prince Andrew capacity. Hopefully the royal family will take account of the fact that until they apologize to the British people for the abuses that they inflicted upon the British people, that the British people have a right to say they don't want them representing their royal family. Hopefully, they're not going to be cack-handed enough, they being the royal family and their advisors. They're not going to be cack-handed enough to try to cram these two losers and jerks and jokers down the throats of people who don't want them. But let us see what happens, because there is every possibility that they will have to return to Britain, unless, of course, they go to Africa and Meghan's, shall we say, her bluff is called, because remember how she loved Africa? Of course she loved Africa and made sure that she fled as quickly as possible. However, all I would say is Harry did the sensible thing in backing her up after she had done what is a grossly insensitive thing, but most likely is right in PR terms, of trading upon the grief of those unfortunates at Uvalde by having a minute's silence at Polo. Now that was clever and that was respectful. Notice, no minute of silence for Buffalo. Roxy 405 says, like it or not, as long as that thing still has a royal title and is listed on the royal website, her behavior is a direct reflection on the entire royal family. As an American, I can safely say we don't need any member of the royal family exploiting the deaths of our children or teachers to build her brand. Roxy 405, I couldn't agree with you more. I personally think that the whole thing has to come to an end sooner rather than later, because it is becoming very wearying. It wears one down. But just because we are transfixed by a grotesque happening doesn't mean we can determine when the end is going to be. But yes, I think the royal family have made some fundamental errors of judgment. But then, they're not asking for my advice in terms of, and Harry is a member of the royal family, as is Meghan. And the Queen, by her own account and admission, takes a long view. And she also puts family and duty first. And she thinks they are interchangeable at this point. I suspect we need to keep on remembering that Harry and Meghan are both troubled, disordered personalities with emotional issues. And odious as we might find their conduct at times, in fact most of the time as it turns out, we should try to stretch to being sufficiently compassionate as to allow the family to give them all the rope they need to hang themselves, which is happening because they are not successes, despite all the money that they have been spending and all the energy that they have been putting in to shaping the narrative. Somehow those clashing, crashing symbols do not enhance melodiously. On the contrary, they jar tremendously, and they lurch from one failure to another. They're not Marmite in that some people love them, some people loathe them. They are becoming increasingly problematic. But that might be a good thing, because that might be the beginning of the end. But you see, I don't think that the royal family has understood, because what is really going on and what the real issues are, my understanding is that they have been lulled by the Diana experience and the fact that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was also very determined and very Machiavellian. But what they have completely forgotten is that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, revered royalty, loved being royal, did everything to enhance royalty. So Machiavellian though she was not destructive of royal interests, except her brother-in-law David's throne. But many people would say that what she pulled off there was a good thing. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm in the minority. As for Diana, the fact that Diana was pro-royal, she might not have been pro-Charles, and she certainly tried to deprive him of his right to the throne. So she was, in her own way, destructive, and one could say as treacherous as Meghan has been. But she was still pro-royal. Both Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, later Queen Elizabeth, then Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Diana Spencer, latterly Princess of Wales, then Diana, Princess of Wales, were subservient to the monarchy and put the interests of the monarchy above their sometimes limited personal interests. Meghan Markle, and this is the point the royal family and their advisors seem to be missing, regards herself as superior to the royal family. She regards herself as beyond them. She regards herself as they should be beholden to her, and they are there, and their existence is there to be exploited by her for her ultimate benefit. yes, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Diana also had their eye very much on their main chance, but within the context of being a part of the royal family, not as somebody who was going to use the royal family as a platform for her enrichment and self-aggrandization. I hope that clarifies a supremely important difference that seems to have eluded them but hasn't eluded me. Wait for it. What I have just said, 5 or 10 years from now, other people are going to pick up as if it's their revelation, in much the same way that many of my other revelations have been picked up by other people as if they were theirs long after I made them. But that is the fundamental flaw in the royal family's handling of Meghan Markle and Harry. Because the best case scenario for them is to have a Prince and Princess Michael situation, they think, where she was ambitious to waft off on a billionaire's yacht, and when it didn't happen, was happy to stay. But Princess Michael also reveres the royal family. She reveres being royal. Meghan Markle exploits being royal, but she has no reverence for it except as a tool of exploitation. That is a substantial difference that means that even if she and Harry are reincorporated down the line, and even if they stay together, there's always going to be trouble down the line. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in. This cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.